The dragon in the sky. This happened about 5 years ago, and it still feels unreal when I think about it. I was driving through the desert late one night, heading home after visiting a friend. There wasn't another car in sight, just miles of open road, sand, and distant mountains under a pale moon. I remember turning down the music and rolling the window halfway to feel the breeze. The air was warm and dry, and everything around me felt completely still, too still. Then, out of nowhere, my headlights caught something crossing the road ahead. It was huge and moved with this strange gliding motion, like it wasn't touching the ground at all. I slowed down, squinting to get a better look. For a second, I thought it was a giant bird, but then I realized how impossible that was. The thing had wings, yes, but they were leathery, not feathered, and its body was long, with a tail that seemed to drag behind it. It didn't make sense. It stopped in the middle of the road, and I saw its eyes glint in the light, golden, slit-pupiled, almost reptilian. I froze, staring at it through the windshield, completely terrified. It turned its head slowly toward me, and for one horrible moment, we locked eyes. Then it opened its wings, massive, easily wider than the road, and with one powerful movement, it lifted off into the sky. The sound was deafening, like heavy canvas ripping apart. Dust blew across my car, and I had to cover my face with my arm. When I looked up again, it was already high above, circling once before disappearing into the clouds. The desert fell silent again, like nothing had happened. I sat there for what felt like forever, trying to process what I'd just seen. I told myself it was a trick of the light, maybe exhaustion, maybe something explainable. But deep down, I knew what I saw. That thing looked like a dragon, something ancient, alive, and very real. To this day, I haven't driven that road again at night. And every time I see a storm cloud forming over the desert, I can't help but look up, half expecting to see it again. The skinwalker or the man in the ghillie suit. This story still makes me uneasy every time I think about it. A few years ago, I was camping with a friend in southern Utah, not far from the Navajo reservation. We'd gone there for a weekend of hiking, just the two of us, miles from any main road or cell signal. The first night was calm, clear skies, a small campfire, and the usual sounds of crickets and wind moving through the trees. Around midnight, we started hearing something strange. It wasn't an animal noise. It sounded like footsteps circling the camp, slow and deliberate. My friend thought it might be a deer or elk, but the sound was too heavy, too controlled. The skinwalker, or the man in the ghillie suit. This story still makes me uneasy every time I think about it. A few years ago, I was camping with a friend in southern Utah, not far from the Navajo reservation. We'd gone there for a weekend of hiking, just the two of us, miles from any main road or cell signal. The first night was calm, clear skies, a small campfire, and the usual sounds of crickets and wind moving through the trees. Around midnight, we started hearing something strange. It wasn't an animal noise, it sounded like footsteps circling the camp, slow and deliberate. My friend thought it might be a deer or elk, but the sound was too heavy, too controlled. We shined our flashlights into the trees but saw nothing. The footsteps stopped. A few minutes later, there was this low, raspy voice. It sounded like it was mimicking my friend's name. Eli, it whispered, dragging out the last syllable. I thought he was joking until I saw his face. He was pale, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. We turned off our lights and listened. After a few seconds, the voice came again, closer this time. The same rough, broken sound, repeating his name. It was humanoid, but its proportions were wrong. Long arms, a narrow torso, and a head tilted at an odd angle. When the light hit it for just a moment, I saw it was covered in something that looked like tangled moss or fur. Maybe a ghillie suit, maybe not. Its skin underneath looked grayish, like old clay. The thing moved fast, darting behind a tree before we could react. We heard branches snapping as it circled again, always staying just out of sight. The dogs we brought started whining and trying to crawl into the tent. That's when we decided to grab what we could and leave. We packed the essentials in record time, threw everything in the truck, and drove down the dirt road with the high beams on. In the rearview mirror, I caught one last glimpse, a figure standing at the edge of the road, head cocked to the side, watching us as we sped away. The next morning, we told a local about what happened. He just nodded slowly and said, "You were near the old wash, weren't you?" When we said yes, he sighed and told us people have reported seeing things there for generations. Sometimes spirits, sometimes people who went missing and came back wrong. To this day, I don't know if it was a person in camouflage, something supernatural, or something in between. All I know is, I never went camping in Utah again. Some people say these are just stories, tricks of the mind, exhaustion, or the imagination running wild in the dark. Maybe that's true, but for the people who lived them, those memories don't fade. The details stayed too sharp, the fear too real. So the next time you're out in the woods, on a lonely road, or walking your dog late at night, remember, you might not be alone. And if you ever feel the urge to look twice into the shadows, maybe don't. Trying to Pretend It's a Cat by Ablin T. I set up trail cameras after something got into my chicken coop. It wasn't a fox or a coyote. Those leave a bloody mess, and I've cleaned up enough of those to know the difference. This time, it was too precise. The wire had been neatly clipped, the latch opened, and 4 of my best hens were gone without a trace. Living out here alone, I didn't have anyone to back me up, but I knew what I saw, or rather, what I didn't, and it sure wasn't a coyote. "You sure about that?" Hayes asked at the general store. "I know what coyotes do," I told him. "Someone stole them." "Who'd come all the way out here to steal your hens, Carrie?" he asked. "I don't know," I said, sliding money across the counter. "That's what the cameras are for." Hayes gave me a look. "You really think the thieves will come back?" "Yes, and if not, I still want to know what's been sneaking around my coop." The first few nights, the cameras caught the usual critters, raccoons, deer, even a bobcat near the tree line. None of them were responsible, so I left them alone. 5 nights later, something else appeared on the footage. At first I thought it was a mountain lion, big, smooth, and moving low to the ground. But something wasn't right. Its legs were too long, and the skin around the joints bunched unnaturally, as if there were extra folds it didn't know what to do with. When it turned its head slightly, its eye reflected the light, round and too bright, like a human's. I tried convincing myself it was just poor resolution or bad lighting, but I kept the cameras up. The next night, it returned. This time, the image was clearer. A full body shot. The skin around its shoulders was peeling, like an old leather coat stretched too tight. Beneath it, I could see wet sinew glistening in the moonlight. The face was the worst part. It resembled a mountain lion, but the features didn't line up right, like they'd been forced into place. And then it smiled. Just like that, it vanished into the dark. I didn't have proof, but I knew that thing was what took my hens. It wasn't kids playing pranks. It was that creature. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat with the shotgun by my bed and every light on. Calling the sheriff over a weird-faced mountain lion felt ridiculous, so I waited out the night. The next evening, one camera caught it standing upright, on 2 legs. The image was blurry, but its shape was unmistakable. It had the hind legs of a cat, but the torso was too long, too thin. Patches of skin had fallen away, exposing ribs and muscle. Its face wasn't animal anymore. The fur was sliding back like a hood, and the jaw had twisted down unnaturally, letting its mouth stretch wider than it should. The eyes were unmistakably human. Then it looked at the camera, grabbed the chicken wire, and snapped it apart with its hands. At dawn, I tore down every camera and locked them in the shed. I figured if I ignored it, maybe it'd go away. It sounded childish, but I couldn't bring myself to face it. This morning, I found one of the trail cams sitting on my porch. I didn't put it there. My hands trembled as I clicked through the footage. The last image, time-stamped 3:12 a.m., showed the creature standing right in front of the lens. Too close. Torn skin hanging, mouth wide open, rows of jagged teeth exposed. Its eyes looked straight into the camera, into me. In the final frame, it screamed. I don't remember throwing the camera or running inside, but I remember the sound, like metal tearing, like something forcing its way through skin that wasn't meant to hold it. I haven't left the house since. Whatever it is, it's still out there, watching. And if it can snap wire, it can open a wooden door. Room for Rent by Hunan Forever. I found the ad online. Furnished basement room, private entrance, $400 a month. No pets, no questions. It seemed sketchy, but I was desperate after losing my job. The landlord was tall, thin, and didn't smile. He handed me a key and listed 3 rules. Stay in your room after 9 p.m. Don't go upstairs. Never look through the keyhole. I laughed, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. People think they want to know, he said. They don't. I should have walked away. Instead, I moved in. The first night was quiet, except for footsteps upstairs. Constant pacing back and forth all night. By the 3rd night, it changed. Scraping replaced the footsteps, nails dragging across the ceiling. Against the rules, I went upstairs. The hallway was dark, every door closed, except one at the far end, slightly open. From inside came the sound of wet breathing. I turned and went back downstairs. The next morning, the landlord knocked on my door. You went up, he said softly, not angry, just sad. I didn't go in, I replied. Doesn't matter, he said. It saw you. That night, the footsteps turned into heavy thumps, like something slamming against the floor. I shoved towels under the door, turned the TV up, and waited for morning. At 3:12 a.m., the power went out. Silence. Then 3 sleigh knocks on my bedroom door. I didn't move, didn't breathe. And a gurgling voice whispered, "Let me in. I want to see who you are." I stayed frozen until sunrise. When I finally opened my eyes, the door stood wide open. The landlord was gone. His car, his belongings, everything. I called the police. They searched the house, but found only one strange thing. There was no upstairs. The blueprints showed a single-story home. No stairs, no second floor. They thought I was imagining it. But last night, I found a hidden panel in the hallway. Behind it, a keyhole. My hands shook as I looked through. An eye stared back. Not human. Too wide. All tuple. Then it whispered, "Found you." Now, the footsteps are back. Only this time, they're coming from below me.